G'day everyone, Duckville here. Today we're going to have another look at one of the FPvods, the first-person VODs for you guys. So this one's actually from IEM in China, which just actually finished up. It was a really great last few final matches on at the tournament. So it's a lot of fun. Make sure you go and check out the VODs that other people have casted, and also, of course, I'm pretty sure that all of the reps are up and out and all ready to go now. So what we'll be doing today is actually having a look at a day in the life of EGidra. So we'll just have a quick look at what he's actually doing right now. Actually, we'll just stick with we won't go too hard on his random APM spamming at the start of the game, but what we will be doing, of course, if you've seen the previous first-person VOD, is we'll just be keeping an eye from EGidra's vision, having a look at what he can see, having a look at how he reacts to things and all that sort of stuff. So with the previous VOD, some of you guys left some awesome feedback. Thank you very much for all of that. Make sure you continue to post some feedback on what you think of this particular style. I'm not going to do it as a continual thing. It'll just be every now and then we'll do something like this when there's something cool to look at. So make sure you leave some feedback. Some of the things you guys mentioned previously was actually sticking on the player camera at the start of the game, so I'll be leaving that alone for the moment. Obviously, as we'll have a quick look here, Idra's probably just spamming around with his APM, trying to get that up, even though it doesn't actually matter anymore. And what we can see is that he is going for that the gas into pool. It's hard to say what his standard opening is in ZvZ at the moment, because there are all sorts of things going on. We've got various sort of NA and EU where people will go for like a spawning pool before the hatch. And then you've got in Korea where a lot of people are actually just going hatch first, and you just get these two base Zerg games. So it's interesting to see how the different regions actually play out, especially in Zerg versus Zerg, given how it can be a little bit paper scissors rock in terms of how things go, but it can also just be incredibly dependent on how many drones you have, how many hatches you have, all that sort of stuff. So we'll see what happens here today. You will notice I've only got the spending tab up at the moment here. I don't want to actually, because the whole point of these VODs, just to elaborate for some people if you're just watching this for the first time and you didn't see the other one, the whole point, sorry, that's the word I'm looking for, is to actually see just how the players just go about their play. It's not actually to analyze. We're not going to be just watching what EGidra's doing exactly the whole time and say this was bad, that was good. We're just having a look at what it's like to play as a pro gamer at this sort of level, especially when you look at someone like EGidra and, of course, Revival, who he's playing against, which is they get into some high APM situations. So at the moment we can see that EGidra's just got these 6 lings out at the current time. It did see a couple of extra lings that did pop out of Revival's base, and he'll probably spot them again. Actually, we've got a few more lings out for Revival, it looks like. We'll keep an eye on what EGidra can see there, but it looks as if EGidra is going to expand. So he's going to go straight for the natural expansion. He will use the Overlord that's up here, which he's just checking out now, to keep an eye on whether Revival does go for his own natural expansion. Of course, you want to just keep an eye on what exactly is happening. And now, as we can see here, just looking to micro a few of these lings out, he doesn't actually save them as he would have wanted to, but he does force the battle back for Revival, so Revival's not going to be able to push in just at the moment. Now, the hatch there, obviously, we just heard that the speed is now done for the Ling, so he's going to be able to run around the map a little bit quicker there, but it looks as if Revival has his own. But there are some Banelings, going to need to be very careful of those, of course. It's the one big threat when you are playing in a Zerg versus Zerg, is just watching out for Banelings, making sure that you don't lose any Lings to random sort of things like that. But we'll just keep an eye on what EGidra's doing. He's got his own Banelings morphing in at the top of the ramp. The hatchery is under attack, but a couple of these Banelings are about to go down. They probably won't complete. In fact, one of them, no, they actually, wait, one does complete, and EGidra is left with just a solitary queen and no more lings. He is going to have to micro that queen back, try and keep it alive with some of the drones doing some bodyguard technique there. But he does lose the queen. He's going to be forced to produce that yet again. Here we go. He's just starting that up. He does have the second hatch, though, which will help with the lava intake, obviously meaning that he will be able to get some more units out. But he is going to have to react. All these lings now coming through from Revival. Revival trying to go in and go for a kill move here, but he's not actually going to be able to get anything done. The Banelings that we just saw at the top of the ramp are going to keep an eye on anything trying to pop through there, but as we can see, EGidra looks to be going for another attack here. He can see that there's no expansion there for Revival, so we're going to have 2 base against 1 very soon once this second base kicks into gear, and we'll see if EGidra is going to be able to hold the base up, or if he is going to be sort of falling behind if Revival comes in with a timing attack. But just as we can see, he's just keeping an eye on what's going on for the moment here, and it's just if we have a look at the spending tab, these guys pretty even, and we've got our first attempt to peek into the base here from EGidra. Runs up, catches a couple of lings on the bottom of the ramp. There are a few extra banelings there, of course, which will be able to stop any big ling attacks, and getting inside does see that there is the Roach Warren going up for Revival, and he's going to have to be able to counteract that very soon, deciding to cancel that Spine Crawler. It doesn't actually need that just yet. He does know that there will be those roaches. I'm pretty sure that was a Roach Warren. I checked, but that'd be cheating. But he is just sort of just trying to make sure his economy does kick into gear at the moment here. They're currently sitting at 36 over 36, so he is supply blocked just for the moment. We'll probably see an Overlord just pop in just a moment here, trying to pick off those banelings with one lonely ling, and he probably will get this one here, maybe the second one as well. Actually just losing both of those banelings to a couple of other banelings himself, and then trading 3 for 1 is Revival. Not a good trade for him at all. Now EGidra has a possibility to push up the ramp. There is one roach, 2 roaches, 3 roaches up here, and they are going to be able to fend off this ling attack. There's just not enough lings to deal with the roaches plus the queens. So, and we will see that EGidra's economy is now going to get pretty hectic here, because he's currently sitting, as we can see, he spent 3,250 on his economy to Revival's 2,519, obviously including a cancelled extractor at the start of the game, but and possibly some other cancelled units maybe, I'm not actually sure. But now with EGidra's drone count obviously up a little bit higher here, as we can see, he's actually on 31 to 22, so he is going to be quite far ahead here, just actually still trying to keep those drones coming along here, sitting at 1,000 mineral income to Revival 700. The gas, both of them sitting sort of around about 200, so that's not going to be too much of a consequence. And there was the production tab, we're cheating there, but the ling count is just sort of just going to have to be something that EGidra is very careful of. He looks as if he is going to be producing a lot of roaches. Let's just have a quick look at what he is producing here. We've got drones, we've got more drones, and then we've got, we've got some roaches over here. So he is going to switch into that roach composition very shortly, and he will be able to do a lot of damage once this economy kicks into high gear. We don't have roach speed on the way for him just yet. He is going to switch into an overseer up at the top of the base there and try and actually get some vision on exactly what Revival is up to right now. And he is going to get that Evo chamber to make sure that he can get some upgrades pumping as well. Now, he can see that Revival has his own roaches on the way down. He's got to be careful with what he does with those lings. As we saw, a lot of roaches being spotted. EGidra's going to have to be really careful here, because he's not going to be able to fend off those roaches with his own smaller force just at the moment. This is a very scary timing for EGidra. If he doesn't actually fend this initial part of the attack off, he's going to be in big trouble. He does have 2 spine crawlers, which are really going to help out. And lings, in fact, getting inside the base, trying to actually attack that queen. He may be able to pick that off, but as we can see, worrying about microing those lings later, because they will be able to take down the queen, I would assume. But here comes the attack from Revival, trying to push him from the side where the spine crawlers will be least effective, because they are in a line horizontally across the side there. And the roach count now starting to slowly even up for EGidra. He's got this economy, as we mentioned, which is now just picking up speed, and he will be able to get a much better roach count very, very soon, especially considering he does have that extra hatchery to provide some more larvae. And as we can see, Queen just injecting, doing a good job there. Queen out the front door, actually picking off an Overlord that was sitting on its lawn, so that's going to be down in just a second there. And as we can see, Revival trying to push through, trying to take out one of these spine crawlers. If he can slowly push them down, he may be able to commit to an attack, but it looks as if, as we can see, the roach count from EGidra is starting to get very high there, and he's starting to catch up on where Revival is at. Burrow is obviously there for Revival as well, so he will be able to burrow his roaches to make sure that he is keeping them as high as possible on their health, keeping up the injects very well here as EGidra, as we can see. So EGidra, of course, is still aware, as we'll just check up here, that there is no natural expansion here for Revival, so he's going to be just keeping an eye on what happens. In fact, here comes that hatchery now, so he's got to be well aware that that is going to be there, meaning that there could be a timing here for EGidra to actually push in and do some damage. So we'll see if he is going to do that. Of course, as we can see, a whole page of roaches there. We'll see if we'll get to another page in just a minute there. The lings just poking away at the expansion, making sure that it doesn't go away unhindered, but he's of course forced back by the many roaches just out the front of Revival's base. But just poking around here, trying to keep these lings lings alive. Of course, they are very useful for scouting. If you can hide out some lings down the side of your opponent's base or down in the secret hallway, as we saw, you can actually get some good scouting done without actually losing too many of those lings if you go at the correct time. Of course, the interesting part of Zerg versus Zerg, as we can see, is that the Overlords and Overseers are able to actually give good vision themselves. So it's always important to make sure that you are on top of spreading your Overlords nicely. As we can see, Revival's even come all the way down here with one of his roaches, keeping an eye on what is coming through the hallway. He's got vision out here. I believe there is one around here somewhere, but we can't actually see it just at the moment. So IEGidra's got to be aware that, as anyone in a Zerg versus Zerg would be, that you can't move around as freely as you would like until certain units come out. We can see Mutalisks have actually been coming back a little bit on the Korean server, and of course, once a few Hydras are out, you can start shutting down that Overlord vision. So we'll see what IEGidra is going to switch into, if he is going to switch into anything here, but what he's going to do is just keep an eye on what Revival's up to, using this Overseer to just poke into the base, macroing back at the base here, just to make sure he's on top of everything. Here we go, just coming through here. The Overseer is not happy with what he can see, putting down a Contaminate on top of the Evo chamber, just making sure that whatever upgrade is being done there is actually slowed down just a bit. We'll have a look at what the upgrades are for both of these players. We got 0-0 for IEGidra. He does have, I believe it is +1 to, yep, it is the missile weapons on the way. Of course, you don't want to get one of the other upgrades done. And for Revival, we can't actually see any at the moment. Let's have a quick look. He does have 0-0 himself. So he is, they're going to be catching up in the upgrades just soon. They will be pretty even though, so it's going to be a kind of a null effect on the battle. But here comes IEGidra. He's actually going to push up. He's got an Overseer to spot if those roaches go down in the ground. In fact, IEGidra just, we're going to move over to, oh, hang on, no, we'll just leave it here. We'll leave the spending tab off. IEGidra not worrying about microing those too hard. He is going to, there we go, he does burrow some of those roaches there to make sure that they are keeping alive, and once they've healed up a little bit, he'll be able to unburrow them here. In fact, interesting to see that Revival has no Overseers. He doesn't actually have a single Overseer to spot any of these burrowed roaches, which is interesting to see from a player of his level. I'm just kind of surprised that we've got that situation there. But here comes IEGidra. He's healed up and he is going to try and attack again. He does look as if he has a higher roach count. In fact, trying to just push through and actually focus down some of those roaches. Just pushing in with the Overseer to see what is happening inside Revival's base. Pulls away the Queen, puts down a Contaminate on top of the hatchery, and that is that. IEGidra just pushing through with a superior roach count. We'll have a quick look at the table there. We've actually got 27 roaches for IEGidra against the 12 of Revival. So doing a great job of actually just getting ahead in the economy and just making sure that he protected it nicely at the start with those two, and then it was an attempt on a third spine crawler, and then just doing some nice positioning to make sure that his economy got into full gear and then kick in. And once it kicked in, as we can see, his roach count was just absolutely flooded with roaches, and obviously he was just able to push through Revival's forces here. Now, just speaking of the Overlord placements, look at this from Revival. He is absolutely covering this map. He's obviously left the game, so I can't actually show you properly, but he's got these Overlords just everywhere to make sure every single attack path is spotted. So it's a really good thing to take into your own Zerg versus Zerg game. If you are going to be keeping an eye on the map, make sure you put as many Overlords around as possible, but just be careful of if anything might come around, such as those Mutalisks from time to time. And hopefully you guys all learned something from this game, and hopefully it was a bit of fun. As mentioned before, make sure you leave some feedback if you are liking this sort of stuff. If you want to change something, let me know. I'm happy to hear some feedback, and I'll catch you guys next time. Cheers.